Alright, what is up everybody? This is Brandon from At the Trading Camp, and the question I will be answering for you guys in today's video is what is options trading? So let's get into the first slide. Alright, so an option is a contract giving the buyer the right but not the obligation to buy in the case of a call or sell in the case of a put the underlying asset at a specific price on or before a certain date. People use options for income, to speculate, and to hedge risks. A stock option contract typically represents 100 shares of the underlying stock, but options may be written on any sort of underlying asset from bonds to currencies to commodities. Alright, so let's talk about the call option first. A call option is a contract between two parties to exchange a stock at a strike price by a predetermined date. One party, the buyer of the call, has the right but is not obligated to buy the stock at the strike price by the future date, while the other party, the seller of the call, has the obligation to sell the stock to the buyer at the strike price if the buyer exercises the option. So in this case, the contract is going to cost you $43. What you do is you take this 0.43 and you multiply it by 100, which represents 100 shares of the stock. And that's going to give you $43. So the entire contract on this is going to cost you $43. All right, so let's say AT&T does shoot all the way up to $35 by June 19th, which is the expiration of this contract. You have the right to buy 100 shares of AT&T at $31, even though the stock is all the way up at $35 now. So right away, you've made a $400 gain on your initial investment, and you can just sell the shares back for a $400 profit, or you can hold it for the dividends. So now that the contract would be executed in this case, since it's now at $35 and you bought the 31 call, the person that sold you the contract is obligated to sell you the 100 shares at a loss of $400, since they could have just held them and sold them at the market price when it was all the way up at $35. Alright, so what if AT&T never reached $31? And for example, let's just imagine that it dropped all the way down to $29 by June 19th. Basically, your contract would expire worthless, and the seller of that contract would just pocket your $43 and you would just lose it. Alright, so the other type of option we're going to be talking about is a put option. A put option is a contract between two parties to exchange a stock at a strike price by expiration. One party, the buyer of the put, has the right but is not obligated to sell the stock at the strike price come expiration, while the other party, the seller of the put, has the obligation to buy the stock from the buyer at the strike price if the buyer exercises the option. Alright, so let's look at AT&T again. So again, AT&T is trading at $30.55, and let's just say you think it'll drop all the way down to $29. You would want to buy the 30 put option for 0.45, multiply it by 100, so this contract would cost you $45. So now let's say that AT&T did drop all the way down to $29 by expiration. You, being smart and buying the 30 put, have the right to sell the seller of the contract 100 shares of AT&T at $30 a share, even though the price of the underlying stock is only at $29. This would profit you $1 a share and would end up netting you $100 profit. However, if AT&T never drops below 30, and let's just say that it shoots up to 32, the seller of that contract will just pocket your investment of $45, and again, you would lose the $45. Alright, so you do not have to hold the contract until expiration. You can sell out of the contract at any time in order to cut your losses or secure your profits. So I'm going to show you guys an example of one of my plays where we did sell out of the contract early just to secure our profits. Alright, so in this play, I'm saying EWZ, which is the Brazilian ETF. I said a put, meaning it's going to go down. I said it's going to drop all the way down to 30 by June 30th, and the price of the contract was $84. So my initial investment was $84 to say that the Brazilian ETF, EWZ, would drop down to 30 or below by June 30th. Alright, so this is the play itself. The first green circle is where we entered. So we entered, I think it was at like 32.5, saying it would go all the way down to 30. So we entered the day before at 32.5, and then this is where our exit was, right at the bottom of that candle, because I sold right at open, where it was like 29.92 was the price of EWZ at that time. Alright, so to reiterate what I just went over, we bought in at 32.5, saying it would drop all the way down to 30 by June 30th. When we woke up the next morning, EWZ was already below where we wanted it to go, and as a result, the same contract we paid $84 was now worth $174. So what we did is we sold the exact same contract back for $90 gain within the first 5 minutes of market open, and we were all done for the day. So the closer a contract gets to the price where you said the stock would go to, the more the contract is worth. And then vice versa, the farther away it goes from where you said it would go, the more the contract will depreciate. And then the same goes for cutting losses. So let's say, for example, you spent $400 on SPY saying that it will go up to 326. Well, as you can see from the chart, on June 8th through June 12th, SPY actually dropped a lot. So if this were to happen to you, essentially you can limit your loss by cutting your losses early on that contract so you do not lose your entire investment. I would much rather take a $100 loss instead of losing the entire $400 if SPY ended up not going up to 326 by expiration. Alright guys, I thank you very much if you did stay to the end of the video. Hopefully you did learn something. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and everybody please leave a like and a comment. We will be uploading a lot more advanced episodes in the future. So until next video, peace out.